in this episode, we're gonna be talking about the church. Did you know that the church is not just a building? That you and me, we are the church. And our friend Michael Miller is gonna break down what is the church and why is it important to gather with other believers. He's the pastor of a church called Upper Room, and they have thousands of views on their YouTube videos, and their music is amazing. And don't forget, hit the thumbs up button, comment down below, and if you like these videos, subscribe and share with a friend.
Hey guys, it's Michael Miller. I'm the pastor of Upper Room, and I have been a pastor now for about 20 years, I believe. I know that's hard to believe since I look so young, but truly I have such a love for the church and God's purposes for the church in this hour. I believe the church for too long has been a dirty word with especially young people, whether you're a teenager or a young adult. A lot of us have had bad experiences with church. And if that's happened to you, I want to first and foremost just tell you that I'm sorry, because the church is made up of imperfect people. And oftentimes the closer you get, the more you see her blemishes and imperfections. But I do believe that God has a glorious purpose for the church, and that if you are a disciple of Jesus, you are called into community. You are called into a local context of a church. And I believe that's where your giftings come alive. I believe that's where you discover his purposes and his plans for you. It's in the context of community. The loner is a liar. My favorite author, Brennan Manning, used to say that. We cannot walk this out alone. We were born again into community with other believers. And that means that we are in relationship with people older than us and younger than us. We were born into a family. And families are oftentimes messy. Families oftentimes expose our weaknesses and our shortcomings. And it's in that context, though, that we learn to love one another through a commitment that we've made with brothers and sisters that we're going to do life together, come what may. I'm committed to you, and you're committed to me. We get called into community. Jesus calls us to serve in a community. He calls us to be known in community. He calls us to know others in community. And there's a sacrifice that takes from us getting over ourselves and planting our lives in the soil of a local community. And so if you're not in a church, I would highly encourage you to pray that the Holy Spirit would lead you to a community of believers where you can connect, you can discover God's purposes for your lives. I just believe the church is the sleeping giant of our hour. I believe her greatest days are ahead of us. I believe God has chosen the church to execute his purposes and to manifest his kingdoms on the earth. And again, it's in a local context. It's not like the grand universal church that we're all a part of, which is amazing, but that has to practically play out in the context of a local community. And so get covering in a church. Submit to the government of a local church. Attend services regularly at the local church. I believe it's in Hebrews chapter 10. It says, don't forsake the gathering of believers. That there's something about us regularly coming together with other believers to encounter the presence of Jesus, to study the scriptures, again, to walk in community with people that are walking through similar things as us. Jesus does not want you to do this alone. And so my encouragement for you would be to find a local church, to ask the Lord to call you initially when you're entering into that local church, that you hear from him and that he calls you into the fold. If you're currently in a community, stay in it. Don't leave it just because you don't like it. Leave it because God's called you out of it. But hear the voice of the Lord. Like, hear where he's calling you. Hear where he's calling you to serve. Hear where he's calling you to plant your life. Again, it is so important, especially if you're young, that you plant your your life, your gifts were called to flourish in the soil of a local community. So my heart, my prayer for you is that you will find that community, that you'll find a context where you can, again, be known, that you can know others, that you can discover your gifts, that you can get in the Word, that you can walk out your faith with those brothers and sisters that you can grow in covenant with. So I just pray the Holy Spirit will encourage you to discover the purpose of the church for you as a young person. Again, the church isn't perfect, so if you've been wounded or hurt, I would encourage you to forgive those leaders in your past, that you don't bring that into your next community, that you come in with an open heart, a willingness to submit, that you're honest with the pains of the past. If you need to forgive those leaders, if you need to call those leaders, if you need to issue forgiveness for maybe things that you've done, but that you could get a fresh start in a local church by this message of saying, Jesus, what community are you calling me in? Because He's the head and we're the body, but we are connected to other body parts. And so my prayer is that you'll find the part of the body you're to play in a local context. God bless you. Jesus is Lord. Man, I pray you get fired up about serving in the local church. Again, I believe some are listening and you're called to be pastors. You're called to be volunteer servant leaders over youth groups, young adult groups, but that the Lord's assigning you to a local church so that, again, you can discover who you are and what you're called to do. God bless you.
Wow, guys, that was so incredible and so provoking, and I hope it inspired you and reminded you that you are the church. And just to recap a few points that Pastor Michael shared, you are part of God's family, and you are more than a conqueror. And your call to action, your homework today, is to join a local church. So don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, comment down below, and hit subscribe and share with a friend. See you guys.